Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, the state's private sector shows strong job growth, and the Arizona Corporation Commission decides to delay a decision on higher solar fees. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Mary Jo Pitzel of the Arizona Republic, Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, and Aaliyah Rao of the Arizona Republic. The state's unemployment rate is up, but so is job growth in the private sector, and that's where all the attention was, Mary Jo, because unemployment rate kind of reflects summertime, teaching jobs, these sort of things. But boy, the private sector, great guns.
They're gaining jobs, and I think the big question is, is that going to be something that will hold and sustain, especially as we see, some of the public sector issues come back into play, like will the schools rehire? Do they have teachers that are actually applying for these jobs since we have a big shortage?
Yeah, and the strongest fields were scientific fields, healthcare, finance, and those are pretty well-paying jobs.
Most of them are, the state's manufacturing sector continues to kind of lag. I think year over year we grew 200 jobs in manufacturing, and those are the best paying jobs. These are the computer companies, the Intels of the world, the Raytheons. The other industry that has yet to come back, also decent paying jobs, is construction. We're at about 55% of where we were at peak. Now, some of these scientific jobs and professional jobs are high paying, but within that category, you also have what are called employment services, which are temporary help. And that makes you wonder if a lot of the hiring is being done by the temp agencies that suggest that the companies don't really want to put people on their own payroll yet, and they're not quite sure that the economy is back all the way.
And yet when you see these other fields and construction still not doing what it once did, back in the day, everyone was clamoring for a more diversified job portfolio. Sounds like we got it.
A little bit. And there was a little bit of a spike in construction this month. So we are seeing a little bit, nothing compared to what we had seen pre-recession, of course, but a little bit. Yeah, we've got, hospitality was down, but in other fields we saw a pretty consistent kind of boost in different areas. And now, keep in mind, though, we're still below national average.
Right, and the unemployment rate did tick up.
And this is one of those seasonal adjustment things that drive us math-challenged journalists crazy, is that you've actually added private sector jobs, although, you're supposed to expect certain layoffs in the school industry. We went to 6.1% from 5.9% the month before, which was 5.8% the month before that. And we asked the folks at the Department of Administration, so what should we expect? And well, they're not quite ready to say it's going up or going down.
Again, 13,000 some odd government jobs lost, teaching positions, seasonal kind of a thing. 6,300 private jobs added. So overall jobs lost, but the 6,300 private jobs added, that's the best number since the recession, really.
These are signs. Arizona was always expected to be slower coming out of the recession because it went down so fast, and it's going to take long and deeper, and it's going to take a while to come back out. And this is starting to be reflected, as we've been seeing, in state revenues as well. There was a report that came out from the legislature's budget office this week, and that fiscal year that ended June 30th, now they finished with a $325 million surplus when they thought they were going to have a deficit of $132 million.
Yeah.
And predicting a surplus for fiscal 16 too now.
Yeah. And consumer confidence. We had a consumer confidence report this week, and if you live in Maricopa County, you're a very happy camper. If you live in Pima County, you got some problems. But again, optimism is there.
Right.
And this is really important because this is one of these leading economic indicators. When people feel good, when people feel confident about there's going to be money coming in, that they're going to have a job, maybe even have a raise, they spend money. They spend money, companies hire, which then leads to more confidence. So if this holds up, and it's the best number in 10 years in terms of the confidence, it's still not totally pre-recession levels, but it really is looking good. And if people stay confident, and assuming that the stock market there doesn't collapse, I think we're in good shape.
All right, so are we seeing a reversal? Is the Arizona economy finally turning around?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask, is the comeback, have we come back?
Well, I'm tired of asking that one, so I tried to ask it in a different way.
Yeah, it appears to be turning around, and I think you need maybe a few more months of data to put a final point on that.
What do you think, Hallie?
It's getting there. We had unemployment rates below 4% prior to the recession. Now, I don't know if we're going to see those again. There may be a new normal coming, particularly in the construction industry. But if next month's data, when we're sitting around the table, it shows that the unemployment rate drops again, and instead of continuing to creep up, then that's a good sign, because it's a good trend line long term.
What do you think, Ali? Is this a sign that things are, I mean, we didn't even mention new housing starts up big time, considerably over last year, so that's going on as well. That should be reflected in construction here shortly. Are things finally, I mean, we've been lagging for so long.
I think we're getting a lot of cautious optimism, as everyone likes to say. I mean, even JLBC in their report this week put out a note saying this looks really good, but remember, this is one-time money. Don't get crazy and try to start spending it. So I think we need to wait a couple more months. We'll see what happens with sales tax revenue. We'll see what continues to happen with the jobs, and it's a possibility, though. And
there's a few caveats in here, including the election coming up next week, which are major heavy construction jobs in terms of the light rail, in terms of road construction. There's certainly the question of the federal highway tax. Federal highway tax goes away. All these heavy construction jobs also go away, and that's a big picture in this.
All right, there's a big picture going on regarding those who are interested in solar panels, those who have solar panels, and those who think that those who are using solar panels aren't paying their fair share. The Corporation Commission, they're looking at a solar fee increase. We had a hearing this week. What happened?
This was a request from Arizona Public Service. They wanted to raise the rate on solar to the solar customers, arguing that the current rate that they pay does not fully compensate the cost of using the grid and all the services that APS supplies to distribute power. And they put it off. They delayed it, but decided that we'll wait, we'll do a cost-benefit analysis and see, how the numbers work out on, how much more do the solar customers really need to, how much are we subsidizing them? We, meaning the non-solar customers. It was a 3-2 vote, and what I think disappointed the solar supporters is that they wanted this whole decision put off until next year when when APS's formal request for an overall rate hike is considered. They think it should be folded into that discussion, but 3 of the commissioners, including 2 who were elected last year with with what is believed to be a fair amount of APS money, said no, let's do this study and let's get this done.
What's fascinating is years ago the commission tried to unbundle rates, so you should be able to tell without a lot of math. Again, there's that horrible word again. Okay, here's the cost of being connected to the grid, which everyone should pay. Then there's a usage cost and perhaps a demand cost, and it should be real simple. I don't understand why APS thinks we need to have a separate solar fee. It's very simple. If you're connected to the grid, everybody pays 20, 30, 40, whatever dollars a month. Now you get into the side issues of, if you're buying back power from solar users, should it be at the cost that you're paying for 3 cents a kilowatt hour, nuclear, or should it be some other retail cost? And that's where you go down the rabbit hole.
And again, the idea is that if I have solar panels and I'm selling back or just not paying as much as, and you don't have solar panels, good for me, rotten for you, and it's not fair to you.
Right, that's the argument. They're charging them $5 or so right now. They want to up it to, I think, about 21. SRP did this, I think, last year, and their customers are paying, I think there's a $50 fee.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing conversation.
But part of that argument is if your meter is running backwards, as they say, yeah, good for you, because if you're a solar customer, because you're not going to be paying, but you're putting that electricity back into the grid. You're helping APS with some of its power production.
And more to the point is, power plants are damn expensive to construct. Coal, nobody's going to build a new coal-fired plant, what with the new rules. Nobody's building nuclear plants, so you've got natural gas, and these tend to be peak load plants because of the way they're set up. They're not base load plants. You would think that it makes sense for the utility as an avoided cost to have this sort of what Chris Mays used to call distributed generation. Have everybody generating a little bit, and that way you can avoid some $100 million power plant.
And that is always the argument. The more conservation that's going on out there, the less the need for the power plant, and yet you still need to maintain the grid. There are still infrastructure costs. Were you surprised that Stump, Little, and Foris all voted as a block, considering all the attention on, Stump, Little, and Foris?
But what's the fallout been from that? I mean, there's been so much attention pre-election, post-election, and they're still there. you know, they seem to be a little bit bulletproof lately when it comes to that.
Perhaps more interesting is that the no votes on that were the two commissioners who are up for election next year, Bob Burns and Susan Bittersmith.
Yeah,
just observing.
Just observing. Okay, so what's next in all this? We're going to have they're going to do the cost and benefit analysis. They're going to come back in June. The overall rate case is going to be probably in June. Why not? Why not just wait for the overall rate case?
Because APS doesn't want it tied up with the overall rate case, because then you get into a whole bunch of other issues in terms of their rate of return. Are they earning a fair rate of return? What is a fair rate of return? You know, are they doing what they need to do to conserve? I mean, you know, the other way you deal with it, you can either generate more through solar or force conservation, which is the other alternative. Are they doing enough on that? Now you get into issues of, well, if people are buying less, maybe we need more per kilowatt hour to keep our profits up.
But back to the scheduling here, if you're going to look at this thing in June, early June, and then in later June, you're going to open up an overall rate, isn't this just like, we're going to hike it here, we're going to hike it there? It's a double chance, isn't it?
Definitely could be.
Yeah, but no one seems to be all that hot and bothered about it.
Well, they're playing people hot and bothered.
Well, I'm not hearing them hot and bothered.
Well, but the problem becomes, until we see, look, they got really upset the fact that they're going to segregate out the solar from the regular rate case. But we need to see what this study looks like. And is it garbage in, garbage out, or is it really based on something? And that's where we're going to tell, did they do a fair job on this?
All right. The Clean Elections Commission also decided to not decide, I guess, this week regarding dark money and this rule that would explain what's going on here, because this is pretty complicated.
It does get complicated, but to try to keep it simple, earlier this year the legislature passed a law that attempted to define what is a political committee, and it said if you are primarily spending on campaigns, you're a political committee. Well, the Clean Elections Commission, which is a separate entity, looked at that, and they're trying to come up with their definition of what that is, because we don't have any clear definition from the legislature nor from the Arizona Secretary of State's office on what primarily spending is. So the commission is trying to work on that, and this has gotten a lot of pushback because the proposal says, well, if you're a political committee and you spend more than $500 on a campaign, you're a political committee. Doesn't matter if you're doing good works and funding orphanages. You are a political committee, and therefore you are subject to campaign finance laws, which means you have to disclose your donors, and that's how you get to the dark money angle of this. They were scheduled to take a vote on this last month. They postponed because there were some changes. So we thought Thursday was the big day of reckoning. The room's packed, and the commissioners decide to wait yet again because another proposed rule comes in and another request from the Secretary of State's office.
And I should say, speaking of hot and bothered, the Secretary of State is hot and bothered over this idea of clean elections having this kind of authority.
Well, this is the fascinating part. You know, Mary Jo and I were here when you hosted the debate in the primary, and Michelle Reagan ranted about dark money and talked to us extensively afterwards on how evil this was, and she's going to do something. Well, she took office and apparently nothing. Now she contends either politically or legislatively she can't do anything. Well, the Clean Elections Commission said, well, wait a second. If you're not going to do it, it's not like we're trying to duplicate what you're doing. Give us a chance. Now she said, this is my turf, and you will not touch my turf. And if you do, you can pretty much assume you'll be hearing from my lawyers.
Well, I was going to ask, I know that she said it was an extremely troubling precedent and that the Clean Elections has no authority to do this, but earlier her office announced that, I think the quote was, you just bought yourself a lawsuit if you go this direction. I didn't hear quite that kind of commentary.
She seemed to kind of back off that a little bit this time. She didn't quite say, no, we're not going to do that, but she was a little bit more tempered, I think, in some of her answers, some of her conversation. But I think that threat's still out there.
Oh, it's definitely out there.
Yeah. I think what happened is that in the July meeting, the Secretary of State's office came out with a lot of bombast and a lot of imminently quotable inflammatory comments, which we all love to pick up. And the tone this time was more measured and more diplomatic. And, you can argue that the commission somewhat responded in kind and said, okay, well, you've given us these other proposals. We'll slow this down. We'll take another 60 days because this new stuff all needs a required 60-day review, and we'll come back and maybe bring this back up again in October.
Well, and the thing with the Clean Elections Commission is that what they're saying is, this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing, making things more transparent so people know exactly who's putting money into what. Now, obviously, back in 1998 or whenever the clean elections was voted on, we didn't have Citizens United, and the landscape was a little bit different. But do they have a point when they're saying, you know, you can rattle your chains all you want, this is what we're supposed to be here for?
Well, they have 2 points. One is the legal point, that in the clean election statute, it says that they get purview over independent expenditures. Now, this was meant in the day when independent expenditures were then used to provide more public funding. You know, Supreme Court did away with that matching funds. But what they also have is what you're talking about, which is the philosophical issue that the intent was to promote transparency and remove the appearance of corruption. How far you can go with that, what does that mean when the case ultimately gets to the state Supreme Court, I don't know. But you could say that the public clearly wanted something. Now, the business community is citing, you know, Thomas Paine and all this stuff and saying anonymous speech is good. Well, we're not talking about somebody putting out a pamphlet. We're talking about somebody spending $2 or $3 million under a nice-sounding name, Americans for America.
Right.
And you don't know where it's coming from.
And the business community is also saying $500 and all of a sudden you're now making me explain myself as opposed to the fact that I'm just trying to run a business here and I like candidate X.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they've fought pretty hard to protect this. They're definitely using this program. You know, APS hasn't denied the millions of dollars that have kind of gone into that campaign with the Corporation Commission folks. They haven't said they did, but they haven't denied it. I mean, they are definitely taking full advantage of the program, and this would change it dramatically.
And I would say yesterday you had like the business community in full coming out. You had Glenn Hammer speaking. He said not only on behalf of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which he heads, but also numerous business groups, Greater Phoenix Leadership. You had the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, other groups. And then interestingly, a representative from the Attorney General's office stood up and said, well, you know, we're not here to talk to you like as your attorney, because they are the attorney for the commission. Right. But basically, we just sort of want to say, you know, this isn't really a good policy move.
And now this is the politics of it. You've got a Republican Attorney General, a Republican Secretary of State. You have a commission that's actually made up of people from both parties who are looking at this and saying, what is the purpose of why we're here? And, you know, I love how they talk about, oh, small businesses will be hampered. This isn't about small businesses. This isn't about whether Capital Media Services wants to spend $500 to get a candidate elected. This is about large quantities of money, and we saw it in the last campaign. We saw it in the Secretary of State's race, we saw it in the Corporation Commission race, we saw it in the governor's race, and that ability to say, oh, you don't need to know where that's coming from. You know, just trust us.
All right, well, we'll see how far that goes. Obviously, there's still decisions to be made. I'm going to ignore Howie on this next story for as long as possible.
It will take long.
Yeah, I know. Marijuana backers come out with a big old check that looked like it was dreamed up in some sort of fog, and it had $40 million on it, and basically they're saying that if we legalize marijuana through an initiative in 2016, $40 million a year will go straight to education.
And bluebirds will sing, and all is wonderful. That's the pitch from the people that are pushing for legalization of marijuana. And to me, it's interesting that you always point to education. It's always for the children. Now, you know, there's 2 points there. I mean, it seems to acknowledge that there's a recognized need for more money for education dollars in the state. But you wrap it around this feel-good thing of we're going to help the kids. And, you know, $40 million, I mean, you know, that'll hire you some teachers, but that doesn't really get you real far to, like, what is it, $1 billion in back money?
And by the way, we should mention, Howie, just hold off for a second, please.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We should mention that this was not an independent analysis. This was something that folks...
this was this group who's running this campaign and their numbers. We haven't seen any numbers from JLBC. We haven't seen any numbers from anybody independent saying whether this is a legitimate number or not. They say this is very conservative.
Yeah.
But even if it is conservative or liberal, total spending, state, federal, local, on education is $10 billion. So now of the $40 million, half of that goes to full-day kindergarten, which the state used to fund. So we're talking $20 million. We're talking 0.2%. Now, look, I think there's a good philosophical argument about whether people should be able to smoke marijuana since they can go out and drink and drive, and well, they're not supposed to be driving, but they do. And look, you know, you keep talking about me being the child of the 60s. I've inhaled, you know, what am I going to tell you? So the question becomes, rather than fight it on the philosophical question of libertarian freedom and everything else, they're doing, as Mary Jo pointed out, saying, oh, it's for the children. I mean, I can see the bumper stickers now. I'm getting high for the children.
Well, but the fact is, God bless you, Howie, for doing that. The fact is, at least the tax money will be going somewhere. I mean, if you're going to legalize it and you're going to tax it, and that's what the initiative calls for, at least it's going. It's not going for garbage pickup or
again,
something.
this is more of, budgeting by ballot. So if you earmark it for, and say this must go to K-12, well then lawmakers can't get their hands on it, which, some people, a lot of people might think that's a good thing. But, if it's not earmarked, it goes into the general fund, which, guess what? Half of the general fund goes to education. So I don't know why you'd pass up $20 million for schools, Howie, if it's, if it's available.
No, the question, well, you've got some interesting questions there. It's, first of all, I think that the legislature should come to terms with the fact that we're either 49th or 50th on state funding, and let's deal with it that way. Please don't give them an excuse to say, oh, but we passed the marijuana initiative, we don't have to fund schools some more, and that's my other fear.
All right, well, you honestly think that's going to happen anytime soon?
I think this one could fail, because what happened back in 2010 with the medical marijuana is the proponents outspent the opponents like a factor of 1,000 to 1. That's not going to happen
And
this
we
time.
should mention, the critics of this, the opponents are saying $40 million is swell. The damage done, whether it's by way of treatment, accidents, hospitalization, whatever they find, dropouts in school, will far surpass $40 million. So that's the other side of that argument.
And remember, they don't have the signatures to get on the ballot yet, too. So some of this is a little preliminary.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But again, what's the damage from alcohol?
Well,
I mean, see, this is the issue.
The group is called the Committee to Regulate Marijuana like Alcohol.
But that's exactly my point. If we're going to talk about social costs, what are the social costs of alcohol in terms of drunk driving and lost days and everything else? So if we really want to treat these similarly, then maybe we should make alcohol illegal.
Don't you reckon maybe this committee will come up with some kind of numbers on that as well, the social costs of alcohol?
Oh, I'm sure.
And I would think opponents don't want to treat them similarly. They're saying you have enough trouble with alcohol, we don't need more with marijuana.
Well, okay, but let's be truthful. People who drink get boisterous, loud, they drive, they do child abuse, they abuse their spouses. People who smoke sit home and order Domino's. Now tell me which is the dangerous drug.
Well, no.
Or maybe they take Uber.
Yes,
Yeah.
that could be.
Yeah. Okay. Salvador Reza, we haven't mentioned in quite a long time. Russell Pierce, we haven't mentioned in quite a long time. Salvador Reza kicked out of the Senate by Russell Pierce back in 2011 because there were some protests going on. Right. He went all the way to the courts on this, and the courts are kind of siding with him, aren't they?
It's taken a while. This was back in 2011, so this was 2010 was 1070 passing, and this in 2011 there was a slate of additional pieces of legislation they were trying to do, checking identities for being in the hospital, all kinds of things, schools, kids in schools, checking their legal status. So there was a big one big late night mega vote on all of these bills, and he was there. He was among a group that was there that got pretty rowdy. It's unclear, and I wasn't in that room. I was in the original, the main room. But whether he was actually one of the ones who got rowdy or not.
And remember, this is an overflow room, so understand.
Right. Yeah, so they can hear this in the other room.
Right. It got loud enough that it got distracting in the hearing room. So he, after the fact, basically got banned from the Senate. He came back, I think, the next day or a couple days later to have a meeting with a lawmaker, and they said, you have been banned from this public building. You are not allowed in, despite having a scheduled meeting with another public official, you can't come in. And he put up a fight and got arrested, and this kind of stems from that.
And basically, what was it, Ninth Circuit just basically said First Amendment rights?
Well, actually, this was the court essentially said, look.
Initially, the court dropped it, though. Didn't
the court essentially said Russell Pierce and the police and the state are immune for these kinds of acts. And what the Ninth Circuit said is, now wait a second here. The cops were just following orders, excuse the expression, but they said Russell Pierce had if he wanted to have Sal kicked out for some contemporaneous issue, no problem. But to ban him, based even assuming the facts are correct and the facts are in dispute, you cannot do that. You cannot interfere with his First Amendment rights to petition his own lawmakers. And so this sends it back to the trial court to decide, will there be damages against Russell Pierce, which probably, if there are, will be paid by the taxpayers of Arizona.
Meanwhile, has Salvador Reza been allowed into the Senate building?
Salvador went back, and in fact, they lifted the ban against him. But he said, look, I was arrested. He spent five hours at the county jail because of this.
All right. Good stuff. Good to have you all here. Thanks for joining us. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.